Welcome to Santa Barbara Talks with Josh Molina. It's such a pleasure today to be here with Roger Durling, the executive director of the Santa Barbara International Film Festival, and a guy who really is he's kind of taken over the world and taken over Santa Barbara, in a lot of ways related to film and the arts and so much as far as prestige, economic benefits to the city, and just what a great reputation we have in Santa Barbara for film, largely because of Roger. And so it's such a
Well,
pleasure today to have you on the show and to talk to you about a lot of news that's going on, what to expect, and a little bit on your background. Welcome,
yeah.
Roger. How are you?
Well, thanks. I'm great. Great. Thanks a lot for having me.
Yeah. So, we haven't really talked much over the years. Sometimes our paths cross in my reporting coverage. So I'm really looking forward to this. Let's start off right away with the big news, which is, of course, there's been an acquisition of a long time, or I should say, there's been a lease of a long time movie theater downtown. And this means big changes and changes in a positive direction. Formerly the Fiesta 5, now the Santa Barbara Film Center. And we got movies going there. So let's start there. What's happening this weekend, Roger? And
Well,
what can people
we
expect?
we just opened yesterday, and I think I was telling you offline that we opened it really quickly. We cleaned up the film center, and then we brought brand new seating. We brought a brand new projectors and sound system. But all of this is temporary until the film festival. And once the festival ends, because for us to um, have the festival, we need that Fiesta 5 running in some capacity. So, and after the festival ends, we're going to shut it down, and then that's when we're going to gut it and basically do a major renovation. But starting yesterday, we're showing movies nonstop. And I think your readers, I mean not your readers, but your followers know that we've been running the Fiesta 5 for 8 years now. So we do have an experience running art house programming. And that's what the this film center is going to have more of we're going to lean more towards art house programming, which means foreign films. It
Yeah.
means documentaries. It means independent cinema. Plus, we're going to be showing, I was telling you, classic films, plus also classic films for families.
Yeah.
So,
It's super exciting, and I want to talk about what's going to happen at all those theaters eventually. You're opening in a one theater in a limited way, and of course you need that because we have the film festival coming up. And so, can you talk to me about what that if somebody goes to the theater today to watch any of these independent films, or I know you're showing Wizard of Oz or Princess Bride, what's the theater like? How's it different? What did you guys do?
well, Josh, just to clarify, all five screens in that multiplex are open and we're running them and they're all clean and they're all, yeah, we have the Riviera Theater, which is, up in the hills by the Riviera neighborhood. And then these five in the heart of downtown are open currently. So each hall, there's about 200 seats in each,
Yeah.
and then each hall will be dedicated to, a style, a genre. So, one hall is only going to show foreign films. The second hall is only going to show independent films, which are low budget American or English speaking films. The third hall is going to show solely documentaries. The fourth is going to show old movies or restorations of classic films. And I'll be doing retrospectives. Like right now, we're showing all of Federico Fellini films. And then the fifth hall is going to be family programming. So, but classic family programming. Like, I mentioned that we're showing The Wizard of Oz right now with The Princess Bride.
Yeah.
And next week we're going to be showing Willy Wonka.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
and The Sound of Music during Thanksgiving, etc. Just big classic films I grew up with that were for children and the entire family. But to see it on the big screen, I think it's a plus.
Yeah, that's great. And so you have some new chairs in there, some new seating. I think
Yeah,
I saw that John Palmentary, I know, posted some of those photos. What's the experience like if we go today or go this weekend?
it's actually incredibly nice. I mean, we were open yesterday, as I mentioned, and I mean the seats are extremely. I mean, some of them are new, some of them are used, but we cleaned them.
Yeah.
They're extremely comfortable. And then as I we brought in brand new sound and brand new projection. So, and it's not the state of the art that we have at the Riviera, and it's not the state of the art that will eventually be there once we're done with the big remodel. But it's quite an amazing. I think people will be very pleased with what we have. Yeah, no, it's I'm thrilled. Santa Barbara deserves to have something like this. There are big cities like Chicago and New York City that have something like what we're doing here. Interestingly, Los Angeles used to have art houses, but most of them have closed.
Okay. So let's talk about how we got here. So Metropolitan Theaters Corporation, as I reported on, filed for bankruptcy protection. They had a lot of issues with their theaters, both here and in other places. And the movie industry took a big hit during COVID, and they owed back rent for some places. And so, City of Santa Barbara owns that property, and I guess that lease ended, and then you came in. So, can you talk a little bit about your your role in sort of finding this spot? Did the city reach out to you? Did you reach out to them? Talk a little bit about how that
Sure.
happened.
Well, I've been wanting to do something like this for 10 years. Why? Because the film festival we rent, um, um, where for us to run the film festival, where we have over close to 100,000 people that attend our events, and then so we need 8 venues, and they're all downtown, and we rent them all. And always in back of my mind for the longevity and subsistence of the film festival, this renting wasn't, was made me nervous because, as you mentioned, the film industry has been shifting. It has been changing. People for the past few years, even before COVID, are moving away from big budget Hollywood films, which is what this big movie chains are catering. So audiences have gotten a little more sophisticated. Also, streaming came in, and yes, numbers and attendance in movie plexes have gone down. So for the past 10 years, I've been nervous about the situation and also running out of space to rent if Metropolitan Cinemas down the road went bankrupt, which eventually they did. So for 10 years and about 9 years, 9 years or so, Michael Tobes heard that I was looking for a venue. And he offered the Riviera Theater because the lease ran out. MTC used to own the lease in the Riviera Theater, but it was Michael Topaz was very sensitive to the fact that he wanted the place to be refurbished. It was very close and dear to his heart, that space. And from what I understood, Metropolitan Cinemas was not willing to fix it the way that Michael wanted it. And then so he turned to us, and then we raised the $5 million that it took to refurbish the building, and we reopened the Riviera. And I mean, I was satisfied with the one venue, but we've been doing all the programming that I mentioned at the beginning of our conversation. We've been doing it at the Riviera, but constricted by the fact that we only have one screen. And so then Nina Johnson, who you remember used to
Yeah.
be the assistant city administrator, she told me that the only venue that the city had that would suit what I down the road what the festival needed was the Fiesta Five, but that Metropolitan Cinemas had a lease with the city. Okay, so I hope this is not boring, but then
No.
I kept my antenna up about the Fiesta Five, and then when Metropolitan Cinemas filed for bankruptcy, that's when there was a red flag, and I mean a big alarm, and went off, and I started asking the city what is going to happen. If something were to happen, the festival would be interested in bidding for obtaining the lease, and that's actually how it started. Basically, in very concise, I was talking to Randy Rouse long term out about our needs. Also, Kristen Snedden has is a big supporter of the film festival, and
Mhm.
I was also meeting with her and asking her about what to keep me in the loop about what was happening. And then when what happened is that it was a major coincidence that Metropolitan Theater's lease was running out September this year.
Yeah.
And so the city opened it up for bids, and we submitted a bid, and Metropolitan Cinemas submitted a bid, and they chose us. I mean, we did make a commitment um, to remodel the Fiesta Five and to raise funds for us to um, improve the facilities and make it state of the art, which is what's needed. You can't
Yeah.
be running those movie theaters in the condition they're in right now.
Yeah. Well, I go I have a 10-year-old daughter, and, his son is a little bit older now, but, we've gone to a lot of movies, and I got to say, it's just like I'm so looking forward to, sort of, at least in this case at the Fiesta, it's like a little bit better of an experience for the moviegoer, and I'm excited about that. Have to go to Oxnard or something to have a full movie experience, and that takes us out of the community for a day, and so I'm really looking forward to that. And I grew up in, Goleta, Santa Barbara, and so I've been going to movie theaters for years, and a lot of the ones that you don't operate are the same. So I think this is really it's the same as they were when I was a kid. So I'm really excited to sort of see that.
Well, thank you. You should definitely take your daughter now to check out the Fiesta Five because it will be really neat for you to experience what we've done so far, and then actually also to get a perspective where it is now. And then once we reopen it, hopefully it's going to be, in a year we should be back to the way reopen to the way we want it. Yeah, so you should check out the evolution. Plus, I mean, as I said earlier, it's a great improvement from what it used to be there. I mean, people are amazed at like, are you actually going to improve the sound that you have right now? Because the sound is pretty great and the seats are super comfortable that we were able to get. When Metropolitan Cinemas left the the building, they took out everything. They took out all the seats, they took out all the projection, they took all the sound, all the speakers, all the fixtures.
Mhm.
So in a matter of 3 weeks, we were able to put on the show.
That's amazing. Well, that's a good segue. Let's take a step back. From my perspective, Roger, it seems as though sort of everything you do, and I know you're a humble guy, so you're probably gonna push back on this, but it seems like everything you do seems to turn out great. For people who just moved here or are just here now in Santa Barbara, they're familiar with the film festival and they just sort of think, well, it's always been like this. Santa Barbara's got this great event. But you really did something special to make this community really a center place for film. You bring in all these big stars. It's part of their route on the way to the Academy Awards and Golden Globe and all of these things. How, Roger, let's just talk a little bit. If I can ask you to sort of put down your, sort of, you don't have to be so humble all the time, but you've done something amazing here. How have you been able to do that?
Um, I very kind of you to you flatter me. I just I'm actually surprised that Santa Barbara. That was the one thing when I came to Santa Barbara. I've since I was a little kid, I've been attending film festivals, and Santa Barbara deserved to have a much better event that what was there. I mean, everything that Phyllis de Picciotto and the original founders of Santa Barbara Film Festival did, where it was right. What I did was magnify, unleash his potential basically, and also take advantage of Santa Barbara's potential as well. It was a two-prong um, uh, uh, operation. The festival needed to be in the right time of the year for it to become what it has become, and also in order for it to succeed, and it needed the support of the city. But the city originally, when I took over the festival, the dates were in I think it was like late March and April. It was a time where, as you know, here in the city, around March and April, we start getting spring, and the influx of tourism starts picking up again. I 20 plus years ago when I took over the festival, all I did was shift the dates to a period that I could take advantage of Hollywood, and also at the same time get help from hotels and restaurants to build the organization, because when you do need the infrastructure partnership. You need hotels to partner with you, because when you bring all this talent, etc., you need accommodations, you need caterers, we just needed big time help for us to launch. And moving the dates for January, late January, early February, it was at the time. Now it's no longer. It's super busy in Santa Barbara and in during that time of year, the festival time, because the festival now is successful. But that 20 plus years ago, it was really sleepy time between January and February. And I knew that moving it to that period, I could take advantage of what I just mentioned. And also, nobody had placed a film festival during Oscar period. And
Mhm.
to me, that was mind-boggling. I was like, why nobody takes advantage of that empty void during the once the nominations are announced and the awards are given. And that's a time where um, the studios are out there campaigning. The top actors that we get in Santa Barbara are campaigning for the Oscar. So, but nobody had taken advantage of that, and that's what Santa Barbara did. We took advantage, and then we started that. Once we made that move, that chess move, everything just sort of dominoed rather quickly. And then I understood that as well, that in order for the festival to thrive and become bigger and more important, we needed to be year round. And so we built out the educational programs for year round. We acquired the Riviera Theater. Now we have the Film Center. You need to entrench yourself in the community. And, it's really hard to do an event that only happens once a year. You need to be in people's consciousness throughout the year, and I knew really early on that for the festival to become bigger and more successful, it needed year-round, Fiesta Five. It needed the Riviera, which we've done for the past 8 years, and it needed to have a really strong mission related to education. And, now year round, we have an education center, which is across the Arlington Theater. And we're nonstop doing programs throughout the year, educationally based. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it sounds like there's some tactical, some strategic, You made some, as you said, some really important chess moves. What about you, Roger? I imagine in my head, and this is probably really naive of me, but you pick up the phone and you can call these celebrities and be like, "Hey, I need you to come. We're going to give you an award. Come to the film festival." And they know who you are. I mean, how much of this is Roger, the person who's behind the scenes making these things happen, networking, building relationships? I mean, can you call up Ryan Gosling and say, "Hey, we want you this year"? Is it you who's doing that? Do you have a team? Talk about that Roger X factor.
It's me that does it.
Okay.
At first, I have to say, picking up the phone, nobody was taking our calls, but it has gotten to the point that yes, we actually we've built such a reputation. They come to us actually offering, would you consider honoring, such and such a person, and but yeah, I mean, I either, yeah, get on the phone, or we do emails and send invitations, official invites, etc. It definitely has gotten easy. It wasn't. It took a lot of hard work. It took a lot of convincing, and yeah, and just, you know, um, I don't even know. It feels like it's happened rather quickly, but it took a lot of, a lot of no's were given. Let's put it that way. But I've never been somebody to just give up. I just persevere, persevere, persevere. Yeah, this is a difficult question for me to answer because yeah, you mentioned I'm extremely. I think that's the most people don't understand how shy I am. I'm an introvert.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, that comes across, but it comes across in a good way, humility, and you're always working hard. Is there a celebrity that you got nervous, like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I'm gonna be talking to this individual? I would imagine you're in a groove, you're professional, you're working, so this doesn't happen all the time, but there's got to be some people out there who you're like, oh my goodness.
I tend to be more um, nervous around directors,
Okay.
movie directors.
Hmm.
So, like, I'll never forget meeting Martin Scorsese,
Hmm.
and that, I greatly admire the man, and I get super shy and nervous, but he broke the ice. He said, "Hey, also a very nervous person, very anxious person, etc." Usually directors, 2 days ago, my favorite director of all time is the Spanish director Pedro Almodovar. It was the second time I met him, the second time I interviewed him, but I still was very just excited and nervous and in awe. Yeah, usually directors are the ones that I get, Quentin Tarantino, all those big time directors, Sofia Coppola.
Yeah.
When I meet directors, that's when I get the most nervous. Funny enough, movie stars, actors don't make me nervous.
Right.
It's the directors that, yeah, that make me, yeah,
Yeah, that's kind of how
nervous.
I am. I interview a lot of people, known a lot of people over the years, and when I interview journalists is when I get a little bit, uh-oh, I better. This is special, this is different because they know what I know, and they know more, and it's like, it's just a different level than when you're talking to, maybe an elected official or something like that. Um,
Correct.
how do you predict so well? I mean, obviously you don't, when the Academy Awards come out, nominations, it seems like a lot of times you're right there in sync with like who the big
Yeah.
stars are. How do you do that? I'm sure not every year this happens, but I mean, how do you know, oh, or well, maybe Barbie didn't get all the awards, but how do you know
No,
like the big hits? Oppenheimer
Oppenheimer.
ended up did.
You know, since I was a little kid, I was born and raised in Panama. And although I know my name, Roger Durling, doesn't say Latina, but I was born and raised in Panama. And since I was a little kid, in the early 1960s, I I I was I was infatuated with the Oscars, and I read everything about it. When I got to um when I got to my early teens, I would start doing charts. And I don't want to go too much into detail because I have like formulas, but they're all like, they're pretty crazy. And well, they sounded crazy. They're no longer crazy. It's more about like, it's actually mathematical, Joshua, how Oscars happen. It's like, you know, uh, if you play a real life character, um, that moves you up on the Excel sheet.
Uh,
If the movie is going to be it has craft that it's going to get nominated, then that puts your Oscar nomination as an actor higher because that means that more people that outside of your category are going to vote for you. So like craft people, costume designers. This is awfully boring what I'm telling you, but I have been doing it mathematically since I was a little kid, and I mean, I do my charts and my Excel sheets where I write all this stuff down. And yeah, and also like, you know, like for example, Ray Fiennes this year, it's in a film that checks everything that I've been telling you. I haven't told you everything, but I've told you a few things.
yeah.
And Ray Fiennes starts checking all of this. Then you add the fact that he's never won an Oscar before, and he's one of the most celebrated people. So you start moving
Mm.
you adding all that stuff to the Excel sheet, and then he says, "Oh, you know, this man is going to get nominated for the Oscar."
This
Oh,
might be his year. Yeah.
correct, or minimum he will get nominated.
Yeah.
It's going to be, yeah. There's one movie that is going to come out shortly that is going to rock the Oscar race, and the Best Actor race is also going to be shaken up by this late entry film,
Oh,
which is the Bob Dylan biography.
okay.
Timothy Chalamet plays Bob Dylan, and he's incredible. But it's a late entry film
Okay.
that yeah that not many people have seen.
So we might be seeing him showing up at the film festival. Huh?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. How cool is it that you're able to do for a living what you did for fun as a kid? As a
Oh, it's amazing, amazing. My dad always said that you should do what you love, and I pinch myself. It is my mom and I were talking about that. My mom is 90 years old. She lives in Panama, and she was remembering the fact that since I was a little kid, I was always just talking about movies, infatuated, and then talking about the Oscars and who's going to win, et cetera, since I was a little kid. So yeah, no, it's insane. I never, and then, you know, I went to school studying, you know, studying, but I didn't know that I didn't study film. And I never would have imagined that there was a career path like this one, that there was now, you know, there is one school in New York City that teaches film festival um, management and film festival as a career path. But when, you know, I never imagined that something that I love to do so much, which is promoting films, talking about movies all day, that there was a career in it, you know.
yeah.
I mean, I knew that there was a career of making films and acting in films and writing, etc., but I never knew that there was a career in simply celebrating cinema the way that a film festival does.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Well,
that's
you
crazy.
figured it out. You'd be teaching that class in New York for sure if you wanted to. Um, and you do teach at Santa Barbara City College as well.
Which which is the most rewarding thing I do.
Yeah, and I hear things, I teach there and I hear great things about you from when we have overlapping students. Hey, let me ask you about the movie industry.
Yeah.
What, what do you think of it? Obviously, streaming, you mentioned. People are going to see mo fewer movies in the theater. And we've seen a shift in the type of movies that are successful and the kind of things that sometimes we have these years where it's a lot of like sort of independence, and then other times it's like the big studios. But we're definitely shifting here. What do you think of the state of the movie industry? Is it an exciting time? Is it a rebuilding time? I know that some of these studios obviously are having a really hard time. Even the big stars, The Rock's got a movie coming out. It's already being predicted to bomb, and it's like red one, and like, so even these big stars in the past who've made lots of money, it's no one knows anymore. What's your take on the current state?
Um, I think we are in a period of transition. I think that, but we've been in periods of transition like this one before. I studied film, and when the TV came um, around, in the 50s, and it rocked the film as we knew it, and it changed movie going trends, et cetera, et cetera. Lo and behold, cinema survived. Then, the closer to your age and your generation, the VHS and the DVDs came into, remember the blockbuster videos and
Mhm.
movie rental, and when movie rental places came to be, there was this turmoil that we're in right now,
Yeah.
where movie going trends were changing, where
Mhm.
movie going patterns were changing, where you had the accessibility to stay home on a Saturday night and just rent the blockbuster video, etc. So we went through that period of adjustment and turmoil, and what happened with streaming, which is as monumental as the TV coming into be, and also the blockbuster, the video rentals, etc. What happened is that it was streaming was coming. It was going to be as dramatic as those other events that I mentioned, but then COVID came and it magnified um, that 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 shift that was happening. It accelerated. It created a crater. And for 3 years, movie going experience was, as you know, paralyzed. So it was a very, very traumatic period. We've come out of COVID understanding that we want an experience, that we can stay home and we can watch Avengers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that we can watch Deadpool, Wolverine, that we can watch this big Hollywood um, blockbusters, um, and just wait for it to be at home and you can watch it. But what if you look at what is happening um, with independent cinema, with foreign films, with things that are a little more special that those are doing extremely well still. I think people are looking for an experience. We talked earlier a little bit about quality of cinema. You drive down to Oxnard. It's not that people do not want to go to the movies. It's just that now you want, if you have the option of staying at home in your comfort of your sofa, um, you're gonna have to give that audience that prefers to stay home, you got to give them state of the art sound that they're not going to be able to get at home, a quality of a screen that they're not going to get at home. A quality of food that, it's more, it's special. You need to educate your audience also about what they're seeing and its importance. You got to give people what they're not accustomed of having. And but I think that movie trends are going to continue. I mean, cinema is not going to go away.
Mhm.
As long as we breathe, we want a sense of community. We want a sense of belonging. And church is able to provide that for you. Sports is able to provide that for you. But also cinema, in a way, also does that. It brings people together, creates a sense of community. And you wanting you wanting to take your kids and feel like you're part of something and belonging, that's why you're always going to take your kid to the cinema.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Those days we know we don't have anything going on. They're like, well, what's playing? Let's go see what's playing. And that's such a fun experience. I think we saw every animated or kids movie possible. So now when they show up on streaming, like I guess we'll watch it again. We'll watch Harold and the
oh yeah,
Pan again. Why not?
yeah. I watch I watch my well, no, I watch movies over and over again. But any kids love to watch. I mean, Inside Out too, and I saw it in the theaters, and now in Disney Plus, I've watched it a couple of times.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's true. You watch it again, you see things you didn't see the first time, and you get really smart and noticing all the things going on as opposed to just the first time you just might be enjoying it. Um, let's talk a little bit about you and your background. You mentioned you're originally from Panama, and I know you've talked a little bit about your personal story, Santa Barbara Independent over the years and that sort of thing. But talk to me about how Roger Durling came from a boy growing up in Panama who he loves movies and your route here, your journey. Talk to me about how you became you know, how you arrived in Santa Barbara and what that was like.
Um, I yeah, grew up in Panama. I came to study in the U.S. at an early age. I came to boarding school in New Jersey. I didn't speak English. Um, since little kid, movies, movies, movies. So I after schooling, I stayed in New York City. I did my schooling in New York, and um, I got introduced to film festivals while I was in New York City. And that was almost 38 years ago. And I have been compulsive ever since about film festivals. And
Mhm.
then I was studying literature and theater. And I thought I was going to be a playwright and, um, uh, and write for theater. And then I was having a modestly successful career as a playwright in New York City. And I had a play done at that was the Mark Taper Forum. It's a regional theater, nonprofit regional theater in Los Angeles. Invited me to fly out, and they were doing. We were working on one of my plays, and then an agent came to see my play and asked me to stick around Los Angeles because they could get me work in the movies.
Mhm.
Um, I was miserable in Los Angeles. In the meantime, I was still attending film festivals compulsively. Every dollar that I earned, I would put away some of it so I could pay for my travels to film festivals, Telluride Film Festival, Cannes, Toronto, etc. But I never imagined that there was I mean, I love participating in film festivals as a tourist in film festival land, but never imagined that I would. And I was always observing what made film festivals good, the ones that I liked attending, what they did right. I've always been a kid that likes studying how things work compulsively. Um, and yeah, so from attending all these film festivals, I was always logging, how they're doing things here, how they're handling volunteers. I mean, I became extremely fascinated, and I cannot explain why I became so deconstructing a film festival as I was attending. So when I was in Los Angeles, and this agent that wanted me um, to work in the movies, and asked me to stick around Los Angeles. I just was miserable in Los Angeles. I've growing up in Panama and then New York City. To me, Los Angeles felt very cold and and detached, and I was very depressed. I wanted to come back to New York City, and then the agent told me, "Why don't you find a location nearby?" And then a friend of mine, my partner at the time, we would drive out to visit friends here in Santa Barbara and fell in love with it. We found a place in Summerlin. Um, and we And I always noticed that Summerlin needed, this is a pretty, I don't know if you've heard this story, but I always saw that Summerlin needed a hub, a central place, the little town. And then so I said, you know, it needs a coffee shop, it needs a coffee house. So there was in the middle of town then, this was the year 2000. There was a little cabin in the middle of Summerland. And then I thought that would be an amazing coffee shop and that would become kind of like a hub, a center for the community. And I opened it, no experience of running a coffee house, a coffee shop. It was a cafe and we served sandwiches and I ran that for 5 years and it was very successful. It was called the French Bulldog Cafe.
Mhm.
And um, that experience was amazing. It taught me how to run a festival. I mean, it taught me late down the road how to run a business and also how to create a sense of community. I was always hosting behind the counter, making coffee. And then all these movie actors that lived in, people like Jeff Bridges would come into the coffee shop, Kevin Costner, Michael Douglas, um, yeah. And Tim Matheson and I became really good friends, Rob Lowe. And
Mhm.
I was always talking about movies to these people, and I was always telling them that I was attending film festivals. And then somebody, and I can't remember who, said, have you attended the local film festival here in Santa Barbara? And I did. I was a guest of somebody invited me, Tim Matheson. They have said, let's go check it out. And I was like, oh my God, this is so mediocre. Um, and I actually told them what I originally told you about what I did shifting the dates. Um, I I was telling that to people. I was saying what this festival right now, it's during the wrong season for Santa Barbara in the calendar year, and it's also doesn't have a purpose. Any film festival that is successful, you should be able to explain what it is in one sentence. When
Mhm.
you think about Sundance, you know what Sundance is all about. When you think about, South by Southwest in Texas, you know exactly what that film festival is about. Cannes, you may not have ever been, but you have a vision of what a con is, et cetera, et cetera. And a successful film festival needs to have that. Every city in the United States, in the world, has a film festival. And how do you separate yourself from all the other ones? What's your gimmick? And that's what Santa Barbara was lacking at the time. And also the wrong place in the calendar season, not
Mhm.
just for not just for the city. It's because not just for the city, but also for to be able to get um, uh, the right films, etc. It was just the wrong place in the calendar. So all I did was shift the dates, and the rest is history.
Well, you have a trait that is very admirable, which is, like you said, you persevere. You decided to start a coffee shop, right? You were interested. There's a need. You didn't think about it and then move on to something else. You followed through, and it's the same thing with what you've done with the film festival. So this entrepreneurial survival spirit comes across in what you do and why we can all appreciate this great film festival in Santa Barbara through your vision and of course support from others, but largely Roger Durling X Factor making this happen.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to move on to Santa Barbara and downtown in just a second, but I do just want to ask you kind of a funny question. It's like, I'm sure you've been asked your favorite film and all that stuff, but like what's like the worst film in the world that you like, you love, you enjoy, you get pleasure out of it, even if it's not necessarily high art. You have one of those movies?
Oh, I have plenty of those. I love this film called, I don't know if you've heard of it, Girls Trip with oh my goodness, Tiffany Haddish.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, it's four women that go to New Orleans. It's a girls' night out. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not trash. It's just like it's just for laughs, and it always manages to cheer me up. I mean, um, every Christmas I'm obsessed with Love Actually. Is it a good movie? No, it's not that great. It's not that way. It's clunky, but hey, it works. And yeah, I love. I hope that people don't think that like I'm like a snob when it comes to movies. I love the highest brow and the lowest brow, as long as it's entertaining. I like Adam Sandler
Yeah,
as a person, and I love a lot of Adam Sandler movies. Pardon me, you
yeah.
know, uh, Big Daddy, and yeah, I'm a big Adam Sandler fan. Every Thanksgiving, I forget. Oh, what's the name of that? Hubie Thanksgiving. It's an Adam Sandler.
Oh, is it?
Uh, Hubie Halloween. No, it's
Oh,
it's
okay.
Hubie Halloween. Yeah,
Oh, is that on Netflix, I think, right? Maybe.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's like me. I can watch anything, the stuff that wins all the awards or just the stuff that everybody pans because there's something to learn no matter what, even if it's like, that was kind of good. They almost got it right. Didn't
Yeah.
really work, but I see where they were going. Or, you just watch a movie in awe and every shot and, the writing and everything. So I agree with that. I saw The Fall Guy. I've seen it 4 times. The one with Ryan, I mentioned.
Ryan Gosling.
I
Yeah, yeah.
love that movie, and it didn't do great, I guess, at the theater. But as a kid growing up, my father used to watch the TV show with Lee
With
Major,
Lee Majors.
and
Yeah.
so that song is a memory of bonding with my father watching that show at 8 o'clock or whatever time it was on. And so now this comes out with a reboot, and it's like this great movie because it's like I'm watching it, but I'm also thinking back from 30 years ago or something, 40 years ago. And then, we got the song's different, right? It's like it's remade. They took out some of the words that are not really, wouldn't really go today in today's
Politically correct. Yeah.
right. But then at the end, you kind of get this cameo and it's like, wow, they did tie it all into the old stuff. So I like that stuff. And I'm one of these people, like if you tell me what to watch, I just or tell me not to watch something. Like, I don't care. Like, I don't care what you think about the movie. If you hate it, I might like it. So don't tell me what you think of it.
Um,
Oh, you know.
as long as you're being entertained, I I love film and I love being entertained. I mean, of course, there's some stuff that is poorly made, and
Yeah.
and I start watching. You know what I always do? Then I know I'm not the only one. I go on plane rides a lot, and for some reason, I cannot watch a good movie, a well-made movie, or like a highbrow movie. I cannot watch that in a movie in a plane. But if there's the trashiest movie on a plane, that's what I'll be watching. Like movies that, like, not even like if they were streaming, would I pick the film at home? But on a plane, for some reason, one of these days I'll figure out why is it so appealing to watch a bad movie on a plane. But I love it.
Yeah. Maybe you feel like, you never know what's going to happen on this plane. So I might as well watch something, you know.
Maybe that's what it is. Exactly that's what it is. And it's also like the fact that like you start noticing on a plane how bad it is, and you're able to deconstruct it. But yeah, I love plane rides because of that. I get to catch up on my bad movies.
Did
You
you
know,
watch The Joker? I have not seen it. I was so
I
looking
did
forward
see
to it.
it. I
I
did
was
see
so
it.
looking forward to it. And then I'm like, some people call it the worst movie ever made. What did you think of it?
I wouldn't go so
Yeah.
far as that. I mean, I give the director um, an A for incredible ballsy attempt to. I mean, he knew what he had created with the Joker, and he basically went 180. I mean,
Hmm.
yeah, the execution was what was, and the script was where things went wrong. It was actually a very ballsy idea, and because of that, I couldn't dismiss it completely. Everybody's commitment to this vision, but yeah, it was wrong. Wrong is the wrong word. It was just not executed well, and it's a mess. It's a mess. It's not the worst movie in the world, but
Well, it can't
definitely
be. If you have Lady Gaga and Joaquin Phoenix on screen, just that alone can't be the worst movie ever.
correct. Correct. No, there's bits and pieces that work, but sadly, yeah, more
That's
than
one
half of
for
the film.
that's what we want for streaming for sure.
Oh,
Hey,
absolutely. Yeah.
hey, I want to ask you about downtown. We got a few more minutes. So much about the film center is about what it's going to mean for Santa Barbara and downtown and helping with this overall effort to revitalize downtown and State Street. There's been so much discussion going on. You were on the State Street Advisory Committee, and you've listened.
I'm still part of it.
Yeah.
I haven't been kicked out yet.
Right. And so let's talk a little bit about downtown, and I'll just go there. You are a member of the Master Plan Advisory Committee, and you had some great comments. I quoted them extensively. You're my first quote. I gave you several paragraphs, and you basically said after, whatever it was, 2 years, 3 years, whatever it was, um,
3 years.
3 years, this committee was not visionary. There was not anything that was done that was really, making an impact and a change. And what was being recommended to the council was just like a fraction of what could have been done. And it was one of the rare times where you showed a side of yourself that was different than your film festival role. So talk to me about downtown and State Street and how's it going and what can we do to fix this?
Well, I find it very frustrating
Yeah.
because of, I think you have alluded to some of the things. I joined this committee. I was asked I took the job very seriously. I mean, we were selected by the council, and I took it very seriously. And at first it started the first meetings where we were giving it was during COVID, and we were giving this presentations. And then for the first year, was solely Josh was presentation, and I was writing to Dave Davis, and I was saying like, why does when are we going to get to the conversations and ideas and big thinking? And they're like, first we need to be educated about what has been done in the past and the history of State Street and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, fine. I'm the type of person that I do my own studying, and half of the stuff that was being given to us information was is something that it should have been just given to us as attachments, PDF files, or stuff that we were so committed that I mean, I was reading materials about other cities planning. I was traveling on my dime to other cities and visiting, and at cities that were similar in layout to Santa Barbara that had gone pedestrian, etc. I'm a big believer that you do. I always tell my staff, don't reinvent the wheel. Just
Mm.
see how other people are doing what the festival's doing. If we're gonna implement this new program, how are other festivals doing it? Just so I mean, I was doing this, and the presentations continued, and I would come home and complain about what was happening, but it will calm myself by saying, okay, I agree to this process. Eventually, we'll get to it, and it never happened. And to me, the most frustrating part is that you had you had this group, you still do. You have incredibly talented people from representing different aspects of Santa Barbara and big thinkers, big visionary people. And always I imagine that we will be in the room and sharing ideas, even minimum, like go around the room and say, guys, each of you, how do you envision Santa Barbara? What is it that you like about Santa Barbara? What is it that you don't like? In your travels, what have you seen? What should we be doing? We've we never had that opportunity. And to me, after close to 3 years, it's been 3 years. That to me was just so frustrating. But I've never been somebody. I've been very respectful. I don't speak when it's not my time. I mean, when I don't like speaking just for the sake of speaking. Um, I was being very respectful of the process. And yeah, it took me 3 years to like boil over, and then all of a sudden they're showing us what this what you call it, prospects that are solely in my view are cosmetic changes. I
Right.
mean, meetings derailed into talking about um, bike lanes and which side of the street we're going to paint this, and I was like, what? We jumped. How did we end up from like this visionary, supposedly visionary committee to like having discussions about bike lanes, and which don't get me wrong, at some point you need to discuss stuff like this, but it just felt like we were in the weeds and
Mhm.
we shouldn't be. Where we a process, I think it is a big missed opportunity. Um, and I was very frustrated. Yeah, yeah. It was really hard for me to speak up. And maybe I'll talk to my therapist about why it was so hard for me to, because it's not my, I'm conscious that it's not my expertise, and then there's other people in city administration and city planning that have the know-how, and that's their expertise. So I always was just observing and taking things in.
Yeah.
I'm feeling frustrated by the fact that, the process. And when I spoke up, it took a lot. I mean, I left. You wrote me. It's like, why did you leave the meeting? I needed to get out. I was, it affected me emotionally. I just, speaking up, because I mean, you see the process, you don't get feedback. You speak up. And from my vantage point, I spoke up and I said, "Well, stop the insanity, people." And then everybody just like, okay, acknowledge or whatever. And then I went like, oh my God, I spoke out of turn. Maybe I put my foot in my mouth. I didn't know what I had done.
Yeah, well, for the journalist, it's exactly what we're waiting for. We're waiting for somebody to speak some truth because imagine how frustrated you are and you're on the inside, observer. It's like, what is going on? And that committee is very big. And of course, everyone on the committee has a lot to offer, and all the staff, they're all really smart, great people. It's not like any one person's issue, but when you have a group that's that large, it's so difficult to have progress. And you have a creative type, and then you've got bureaucrats and the bike people hijack the whole conversation on State Street and stuff. Did you
But
get?
for but
Oh,
but
go
from
ahead.
the get-go, I think that I think nobody knew what to do with this group, or maybe they knew and then they decided that we were going to go a different route. I really don't understand, but I think it was a really wasted. I know it's a big group, but there was ways to. I don't blame anybody in the committee. I don't blame Dave Davis. Everybody has shown up and committed for 3 years. I mean, but we were and as a committee, we were never given the opportunity to deal with what we were hired, not hired, but appointed to do, in my view. And I think there was a lot of missed opportunities, and I'm hoping that they're able to rectify it. Um, there's just so many committees. Also, there's so many different voices in this process. But anyway,
Did you get any pushback privately from anyone for your comments? And then, you're
no,
in the news
no.
media? No, no.
No, I didn't get it. Funny enough. I mean, what have you heard things that
No, no, I think it's a testament to your strong reputation and how much cachet you have in the community that what you said, people heard it and they're like, oh, maybe, this isn't just what you hear in public comment, what people criticize everything government does. This is somebody who's knowledgeable and who has a little, reputation and expertise, and he's saying this, so we should listen. I think it was
Yeah, I
the
was
opposite.
I never heard. I mean, if anything, I actually heard from a lot of people positive in the city saying thank you for speaking up. I thought I was going to get reprimanded by the city. Somebody was going to say something, but I've heard from also as well council members and other people that said thank you for speaking out.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
You go ahead. Sorry.
it's and then lo and behold, I mean, we quietly, felt, instead of talking, let's do something. And the Fiesta 5 project to us is it yes, the festival needs the venue and the security of having a venue so we can able to function down the road with a film festival, but also part of it, the doing something for after three years of being so frustrated about trying to do something for State Street, the Fiesta 5 was an amazing outlet for my frustrations. It's like all the energy that was pent up is like, let's use it to make this film center possible, and let's just do it.
Yeah, and I think that's really the outcome of this is it's really hard to control with 13 people or however many people were on there and the staff. But what can you control is what you did, which is work to create this film center that everyone's happy about. I mean, universally, everyone's so looking forward to this. And this is going to be a huge driver to State Street immediately. And then eventually, when you get it all done and up and ready to go, in a year or so now. Uh, Last thoughts, Roger. We're coming up on the film festival really soon. Let's send us out. What are you excited about? What can people expect from?
Well, it's our 40th anniversary. We added one more day. I gave you an exclusive of somebody who's coming that hasn't been announced. Um, it's yeah, yeah, it's gonna be as good as it's been in the past. I'm excited about the extra day. I felt that um, 10 days is not enough. It's 10 days, 11 nights. Now we're going to be an extra night, an extra day. I've always felt that we needed an extra day. So, um, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited. But I mean, I'm most excited that it was very frustrating for us to build the festival one time a year, and I would get depressed because you work all year to build this thing, and then all of a sudden it's over. With all the projects that we have throughout the year, um, it, we don't feel that anymore. We tend to be very excited the whole year. Yeah, yeah, but the 40th, yeah, it's a big year.
Yeah.
Excited. Yeah.
All right. Well, Roger Durling, such a pleasure for you to take some time out of your day to talk with me and talk to the audience about everything related to the film festival and all the great work you're doing in the community. So thank you. Appreciate it. Look forward.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Have a great day. Take care.
Okay, thanks.